do you think about having a family of your own?
You know what's funny? I was so like pro marriage because of what my upbringing is, and I still want to get married. I do, but I don't know. The older I get, the more I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to get married, to be honest.
So you live in Atlanta now.
I do.
How difficult is it to date here?
Child.
Oh, why? Don't come from my city.
I'm sorry. I was.
That's why she looked at me and
I was
smiled like
pre-warned. I'm not even gonna lie.
I can only date one person at a time.
So you're not a serial dater?
No, I'm not a serial dater at all. Like, I don't even date, to be honest.
I just need someone who's driven, someone who's passionate, someone who's gonna challenge me, make me my best self, someone I'm gonna think about all the time and not feel like I'm a burden or a bother. Great sex.
Is a must.
You know, I'm sorry, Mom. Don't watch that part.
Relationships matter. I need you to understand. Relationships matter.
Welcome to Relationships Matter. I'm Chanel Nicole Scott.
And I am Josh Powell.
And we have an amazing guest here with us today, Mr. Arrington Foster, a.k.a. Rio Duncan. Welcome to our
That
show.
sound like money.
Do you get offended when people call you?
Sound like
Do people call you Rio?
Absolutely. All the time.
If I was like to be your friend, I probably would mess around and say Rio, and I mean to say Arrington.
Well, you know what's funny is when I go like out the country, I'll say I'm Rio, just so people don't know my real name.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I answer to both. So, I mean, it's a pleasure to have people to recognize you for something.
work.
So I'm
Yeah.
never like, can I call you Rio? Can I call you? I'm like, yeah, call me Rio. Okay.
Well, if it's any consolation, you and your character are two total different people. I said that before we got started. Like, there's a distinct difference. I love both, but there is a distinct difference.
That means I'm doing a good job.
Right. So, like, I would get to know you as Arrington. That is a real person,
Yes.
you know, to make that distinction. So anyway, you know, we talk all things relationships. So I'm going to just start off by asking you the house question.
Okay.
Why do relationships matter to you?
Man, relationships matter because I think we all want to be loved. We all want to find our soulmate, our partner. I'm blessed to say that my parents are celebrating 37 years of marriage this month on the 29th.
Wow.
Both my grandparents, one was 65 years, the other was 68. So I have great examples of what love looks like. And so I still want to have that. I'm single, so I'm still trying to find that type of love, or let that love find me. You know? Yeah.
So as a successful actor, what is it like dating and trying to separate from the television screen and having someone accept you for Arrington and not Rio? What is that like?
It's difficult because, you know, I've been on the show now for 5 seasons, but especially now that it's on Netflix too, it's like grown to more of a global status than just the BET market and the fans from that. And so, like you say, it is hard because now I feel like I have a hard time trusting people sometimes. Like my guard is up, and rightfully so.
Yes.
But it's like, you know, like you said, like, do you want to get to know me for me or my character? Because sometimes people will, you know, want to shoot their shot. And then when they meet me, they're expecting the dude with the colored hair and the outfits. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is giving a little Rio. I'm not even gonna lie. I tried to do a little something. So it's just, you know, I actually really love when people that meet me and I guess want to ask me out or want to meet me, they have never watched the show. They don't know anything about the show, because then it brings me back to that place of, I guess, before fame or before celebrity, when I was just Arrington, I wasn't Rio. So yeah, it's challenging, but you know, everything happens for a reason. When it's the right time, it's the right time.
Okay.
What are some principles that you've taken, for example, from like your parents or your grandparents, you know, being that you said 37 years, right? And then
65 on my dad's side and 68 on my mom's side.
That's amazing. So like, for example, what are some of the things that, you know, you have taken with you as part of your foundation when it comes to relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I would say first and foremost, keeping God first, you know, like the cliche, the family that prays together stays together. And I'm a preacher's kid, so which is crazy because my mom is a preacher, but my dad's parents were deacon and deaconess. So it was all around me growing up, just church and everything like that. But honestly, just being best friends with your partner.
Right.
I don't understand how people are in love with someone and they're not friends with them. You know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
I've seen the way, even now, how my mom and dad, like, you know, they joke around and they giggle and stuff like that. And you could just tell they genuinely love being around each other and just showing that, you know, I will say this. I mean, I'm sure it's happened because no marriage is perfect, but I've never, not once, seen my parents ever argue in front of me.
Wow.
And I'm almost 33. Well, I'm almost 34. Oh my gosh.
Right.
So, and they've never done that. So I think that that's important because kids are like sponges. So if you seeing, you know, your parents cussing and smoking and doing all these crazy things, you know, you're gonna think that that's normal. So I think that they showed a good sense of, you know, what it's like to lead and be an example for their kids.
No, for sure. Perspective is everything. Now, from the standpoint of maybe not being argumentative or anything, but
Right.
have you watched them be able to have some conflict resolution? You know what I mean? Because some people, they actually haven't seen their parents or loved ones like argue or do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So from the standpoint of like, if you're faced with a situation in your relationship, like how do you handle that? Like how do you manage, you know, trying to calm that fire, or what does that look like for you? Like what are the steps you take?
I don't like arguing. I really don't. I'm not into confrontation, but don't get it twisted. I'm a water sign. I'm gonna let my emotion be known. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, when I meet people, I mean, it's about knowing people's boundaries and like what they're willing to compromise on. And I think that I just try to, I'm not perfect by no means. I think I was a little wild and crazy in my 20s. I can't lie, you know, but growing and maturing, I'm learning that, you know, you don't have to just go off on somebody, or, you know, I think sometimes we have to stop expecting us and other people when we meet someone. You know, I'm like, why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you doing, or, you know, expecting them, when it's like, you don't know their background, you don't know their experiences, you don't know how they were raised. And so just being more understanding and listening to your partner.
Yeah.
So Arrington, what does love look like to you in a partner?
God-fearing,
Okay.
compassionate, especially for what I do. You know, you have to be understanding, you have to be secure.
Okay.
I can't do no insecure people, okay? Because we're gonna be doing things like this and going
Right.
to events and red carpets and stuff like that. So I need you to be secure in who you are.
Absolutely.
Obviously, good communication and effort is so important. I mean, I think that's the number one thing right now, is like just finding, especially in this new age of social media, and it's just so, and apps as well, it's so quick to just, okay, well, they did something I didn't like, now I can just move on to the next person. Instead of like, you know, really giving someone a chance and communicating and showing effort. And I'm just in a place of peace and positivity. So if it's anything that's not that, cutting it off, period, you know? So yeah, just someone that I can just be myself with, you know, someone that we can be in a room of 100,000 people, or we could be just the two of us, and it's like, we just have fun together. And, you know, of course, great sex. I mean, we keep it real.
Yes.
I'm a Scorpio, so, you know, yeah.
Okay.
What are some of the things that you do to work on yourself, right? To be the healthier version of you?
I've done a lot of that self-work this year, actually, my Jesus year. I think just getting to know yourself, being happy being single. I think for a long time, I thought being single was just like kind of a bad thing, or, you know, there's a difference between being like alone and being lonely. So I think right now I'm in that place of, you know, what makes me happy? What are my things that I can work on and take accountability for? You know, just talking to family and my close friends, and just loving on myself. Daily affirmations, journaling, prayer, meditation. These are all things that I feel like I'm doing. I did a little bit of therapy too. I'm pro therapy.
How was that for you? Because I know a lot of people, especially that look like us, you know, it's not really
It's taboo.
It's not our cup of tea, you know, for many reasons. And I think it's also too, it's important that people educate themselves on therapy, period. I think that we have this understanding that I see a therapist and that they're just going to fix it, or we're just going to be a hit out the gate. And it's like, no, you got to vet your therapist the same way you would vet anybody else. You know what I'm saying? This person is doing some
Absolutely.
work. And the problem is a lot of times we just go with that first person. It's a bad experience, and then we're done with it. So, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, your experience in therapy and how important that's been for you.
Yeah, I mean, therapy has been great. You know, unpacking all the things that I feel like we don't really tap into in our childhood and growing up and the traumas. And it's like, we all have baggage, but it's like, I don't put my baggage on your baggage. Like, at least if you're not there, at least you're working to be there. And I want to be the example for the potential person that I'm going to be with. So unpacking things with a therapist has just been so life-changing. I believe mental health is so important. You know, I've gone through depression. I've gone through, you know, anxiety. And I mean, as an actor, this is a tough business. And a lot of times, you know, we take a lot of ourselves for this career path. And so unpacking, I had an acting teacher that said that, you know, auditioning and acting, it's a lot like dating. You know, because you're trying to, at least with auditioning, you're putting yourself out there to someone. And a lot of times people are trying to put what they think is what they want to hear, what they want to see, instead of just being your authentic self. And I think when you are your authentic self, that's what's going to get you booked. That's what's going to attract the right people. And so therapy has definitely taught me to accept myself, be like, it's okay, you know, for anything that I've gone through. And yeah, it's a daily process.
What did that depression, like, you know, what did that depression look like for you, right? What was that, and then how did you, I know you talked about therapy, but what are some practical ways that helped you get out of that, you know, out of that feeling, out of that space?
Yeah, I mean, when I look back on my life, I feel like there were a lot of moments of depression that I didn't really even realize, because I think as Black kids, we're not taught to think about our feelings and express our feelings. But, you know, I was a tease kid, you know, being called gay and a nerd. I was a theater kid, you know, I was chubby, I had braces and glasses. I didn't look like I do now, had my glow up later. But, you know, so I think there were definitely moments of that, not feeling like I fit in. And then I guess more recently, definitely during the pandemic, I mean, I was still living in LA at the time in 2020. And, you know, I was by myself. I'm an extrovert. So when the introverts were loving this, I was dying in the inside because I didn't have my family. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have a roommate or friends. I was literally by myself for 6-7 months.
Wow.
So drinking every night, not wanting to eat, not wanting to get out of bed, feeling like my career is stale, you know, even with the success of the show, not feeling like the roles were coming and I wasn't getting the next opportunity. You know, it was hard. It was really, really tough. But, you know, I'm just grateful that I'm in a good place right now. Therapy can get expensive, so I don't have a therapist right now, but I've had it in the past. But honestly, God, prayer, meditation, journaling, and just those daily affirmations. You know, I am attractive, I am powerful, I am an amazing actor. It's like we have to start telling these things, these I ams to ourselves, you know, and to get rid of the negative thinking. Yeah. Because the tongue is so powerful. And I didn't realize, I'm a very optimistic person, but I feel like sometimes I'll say things and not realize that maybe I'm blocking my own blessing by saying like, man, like I ain't get that audition, or man, like I was this close, or man, I can't do that, or I can't do that. And I'm like, I don't want any of those vocabularies to ever cross my mouth. I will say I'm getting that job, or I'm gonna meet that person. And honestly, the gym too. I mean, even when I couldn't work out because of the pandemic, I would work out outside of my apartment that I was living in, and, you know, just try to do whatever I could to, you know, because when you feel good, you know, when you look good, you feel good.
Right.
So those are the things that I did to help kind of, you know, and self-help books that helped me out a lot.
Do you have a good self-help book that you would advise to, you know, the listeners, the RM family?
Right. I mean, there's a popular book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. That's a good one.
Nice and orange.
Right, exactly. And actually, there's a page on Instagram that I follow. It's a popular page, The Positive Minds, and they have a daily affirmation book. I highly recommend that. It helped me, especially when you have self-help books that have like a calendar. So each morning I try to wake up, and even before I check my phone, because we all on our phones, as long as I can get up and have my morning routine, I feel like, okay, now I can start the day fresh, positive, and tackle anything.
Okay.
That's big. That's big. That mental health for real.
Yes. Before we go to break, though, when we get back from break, I want to talk about the transition from, you said at one point you thought being single was a bad thing. I want to talk about the transition to, thinking this is a bad thing, to having a more positive outlook on being single when we come back from the break.
Absolutely.
Relationships matter.
Relationships matter.
Welcome back to Relationships Matter. So before we went to break, I wanted to talk to you about that transition from where you said that you thought being single was a bad thing to now having this positive outlook and exuding all of this great energy.
I feel like it happened recently, to be honest. I think it was, probably around 2021, 2022. I started like really distancing myself, like isolating myself in a positive way, just realizing that there were a lot of people around that weren't really right for me. Friends, that could be family, that could be situationships, as I like to call it, or what the people call it nowadays. Just realizing that like it's about quality over quantity, and taking that time to like really get to know me and understand my worth. I think for a long time I didn't know my worth, honestly.
Wow.
Question:
Like,
How do you? And that's a great point. Because it's gonna help somebody. How do you navigate when it's somebody that says they love you? And I'm talking about like your family, for example, right? A lot of people, because it's family, will still like hold on to that, even though it could be extremely damaging. It's not necessarily where you're going, but it's like, well, hold on to that because it's blood and all of these things. So how did you navigate that? Like I feel like we can easily tell somebody if it's a girlfriend, a boyfriend,
Right,
or
like kick
a
rocks.
friend. But how do you navigate that?
It's tricky, but I feel like your happiness and your peace is the most important. And so sometimes you have to love people from afar. And, I think Tyler Perry has said it, when you keep rising up to the mountaintop, not everybody's gonna go up to the top with you. And you could say that's cutting people off, but sometimes it's just being like, we're just not aligned in where I'm trying to go, like the goals that I have or where I see myself in 5-10 years. So just trying to politely, be like, well, I love you, I support you, but I'm just gonna do my own thing. And yeah, I think that's just.
How do you find the strength to get to that point though? Because a lot of people, I think they know in the back of their mind, but practicing that is a tough task.
I think you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired, honestly, and creating the same cycle over and over again until you're like, all right, well, something's got to give, something's got to change. And to go back to your question, I think it was me doing that I started to be like, you know what? It's okay to love me and all of me, all my quirks, all my pros, my cons, and realizing that like I'm the prize, everyone should feel like they're the prize. Right. And so now I look at it as I'm single, but I'm happy. And I'd rather be single and happy than be unhappy and in a relationship. People too often like to just jump from relationship to relationship. But I feel like it's important to get to know you and be happy with you first. We shouldn't have to find someone to complete us. We should be whole and you're whole and we're just moving together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you live in Atlanta now.
I do. How
difficult is it to date here?
Child.
Oh, why? Don't come from my city.
I'm sorry. I was.
That's why she looked at me and smiled.
I was pre-warned. I'm not even gonna lie. And when I got down here, it's slightly true. And I don't even know if that would be the same way if I wasn't in the industry. I feel like Atlanta is becoming like another LA. I mean, my sister, she's lived here for a while, and even in the last 5 years, it just feels like, Atlanta's popping. Everybody wants to come to Atlanta. And so once again, trying to date is tricky. But then I had to sometimes realize like, where are you finding these people? Like, what are you attracting that's giving off this type of energy? Like, I'm sorry, probably the person I'm going to meet is not going to be in the club or at the bar. And I was partying a lot when I first got here. I mean, I was new to the city. I didn't know anybody. So, I mean, except my sister and some family members, but I just felt like I needed to be outside.
Right.
But after some months and months and months of being outside, you're like, okay, this is, and then now I have to start realizing, like, I can't just be out everywhere.
Right.
I can't. I have to guard my peace, my energy, and a lot of people just don't have good intentions.
No. That's right.
So it's been difficult, but I mean, like I said, I've only been here a year and a half, so it's still kind of new to me. But I'm enjoying being in Atlanta right now. I love the food. I love the Southern hospitality. It's nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot this conversation because we was talking about this during the break. And you seem to have some knowledge on astrology.
Just a little bit. I'm not the horoscope king, but
but you know you're familiar with certain characteristics.
Absolutely.
And I wanted you to break down Aquarius for me.
Right, because you said you're a Taurus.
I'm a Taurus, and you say you love me.
I get along with Tauruses. I have a best friend that's a Taurus as well.
But tell me about me first.
So, you guys are loyal, and y'all, it's just a cool calmness about Tauruses. Y'all get the party jumping, but y'all not afraid to be like, listen, I need to sleep. I need to go get some food. And I rock with that. Air signs, I feel like, and I'm sorry, brother, I really am. It's just, whether it's a Gemini or an Aquarius or a Libra, I just feel like y'all are a little bit more flighty, just a little bit more like, oh, I could be into you one day, and next minute it's like, okay, well, whatever. Like, just like very like, playing games, and like we just communicate very differently. I am an empath by nature. I'm very passionate, physical touch, quality time. Like, I'm a lover. Like, when I like someone, I'm in, which sometimes can get me into trouble because then I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yes.
But it's like, I feel like sometimes maybe I can't judge all Aquarius people because of that one person. And like I was saying before the break, my dad's an Aquarius, and he's a very giving person, very helpful.
How's your relationship with your dad?
Amazing. So, but.
I heard something that you said. He said what he said.
And I'm standing 10 toes down on it.
Yes. So
if you're an Aquarius, don't come for me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You said you love hard, and I have that characteristic, like, if I'm into you, I'm into you. With the whole idea of this multiple dating, right? How do you manage that? Because, I mean, I'm from the old school. I'm a different generation. How do you manage that in today's dating? Like, I can only date one person at a time.
So you're not a serial dater?
No, I'm not a serial dater at all. Like, I don't even date, to be honest. Like, I just have this idea that I'm going to connect with the right person in purpose, as I'm operating in my assignment and doing what God has called me to do. And
Amen.
We'll have that in purpose. I mean, we'll have that in common. And then in the course of that whole interaction, we'll recognize that, wow, we are compatible. We have these things in common, and we want to get to know more of each other. So I don't do the dating. So how do you manage this whole idea of multiple dating, or do you even engage it at all?
I mean, I think only until I got into my 30s, which has only been a couple years, have I started to date, because for a long time I was in them streets. You know what I'm saying? I was a preacher's kid, so I am a testament to that. I definitely rebelled in college and wilded out a little bit. I had fun, and I'm not ashamed of it. I feel like everybody should have their whole face. I think it's healthy. It's healthy. I'm sex positive about that. Why not? I'm sorry, Mom. Don't watch that part. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's good to experience what you like, what you don't like, before you settle down with one person for the rest of your life. I think I was a person that kind of could serial date. You know what I'm saying? I could go on dates here. I could entertain multiple people. But then I do feel like it does get tricky when you start catching feelings, and it's like, okay, now I got to make process of elimination. I can't have this hotation like Issa Rae said on Insecure. I can't keep that going, because I've had a roster. But I think right now, currently, I'm finally trying to be more intentional when it comes to dating.
That's
I think even when I said I wanted to date, I had one foot in the door and one foot out. Like, I was still like doing what I needed to do, and I wasn't really giving this person the attention that they deserved, or I just felt like, and I don't know if that's something I need to continue talking in the therapy about, but just like feeling like, if you're not giving me that energy and that effort, then I'm gonna slowly back away.
Right.
Because I guarantee there's somebody else that will. And I saw a story on Instagram where it was like, if they wanted to text you, they would. If
That's
they wanted to
right.
call you, they would. I'm in such a place, and that goes for any relationship, that people make time for people they want to make time for.
This is true.
This whole I'm busy excuse is bullshit.
Yes.
It's BS because no one's that busy.
Right.
We're all on our phones. Like,
Yes.
I got people now that's still watching my stories, but you couldn't send a text back. And I'm a FaceTimer, caller, text. I'm very big on communication, almost too much. And at first, at one time, I thought, am I too clingy? But then a friend of mine pulled this aside of me and said, it's not clingy if that person really wants to be there with you.
Right.
It's not clingy. And then for a while, I thought, is there something wrong with me that I seem to, even in friendships or relationships, when I like someone, when I care about someone, I make myself available. And I
Yes.
feel like a lot of times I'm always giving my 80 to people's 20, and they're not showing me that effort. And I said, you know what, that's cool. Because as someone once said, when you stop watering the dead plants, you see who's really in your garden. When you stop texting first,
Yeah.
like we don't double text no more. We're not sending paragraphs and books.
Right.
No, we're not doing that. So I don't know. Now I think I'm still open to meeting multiple people, but it has to be a smaller number. It can't be like, it can't be like 10, 50 people, because that's too much.
That
My heart
is.
can't take that.
Absolutely.
Do you ever, this going somewhere off left, but do you ever, or have you ever in your going on 34?
34
right?
in November, yep.
Have you ever felt pressure up until this day still of being a preacher's kid? Because I know that is there's a lot there for any young man or any young woman that grows up in the church and the structure and the expectation and all of these different things. Is that something that weighs heavy on you? Has it weighed heavy on you if it doesn't right now?
Yeah, it definitely weighed heavy on me. I mean, I was also the oldest, so I feel like I just had that syndrome of I had to be perfect, I had to get good grades, I had to be the best, I had to show the example for my little brother. Like, I had to be an example. And I think what comes with that is a lot of pressure. Sometimes I feel like maybe you're not good enough, or like if I do something wrong, then it's just blown up out of proportion, I don't really feel that pressure anymore. Me and my mom are super close. She's so supportive, like the most supportive mother ever. And I feel like now I'm just starting to just accept it, Like, I think there was pressure to be a certain way or act a certain way. And I still, I'm a very spiritual person. I think growing up in the church was hard because of the fact that it was like, I'm forced to go to church and I'm told that you're going to hell for this and that and everything. And I'm just like, listen. And I stepped away for a long time. And then I finally came back when it was what I wanted to do. And then now it's like, only relationship that matters is me and God. And then honestly, once I found out that me and God, we good, then nothing else mattered to me.
How was your relationship with your parents in regards to that? Because I know that could be heavy. Like, you don't really hear a lot of people that grew up the way that you did to like be a voice to their experience. And I think the unfair part is because of what's expected. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how is that for you? Like,
I mean, it was challenging. I think for a while, I just kind of just kept it to myself for a long time. I don't think I came to terms or got really comfortable with my sexuality till probably my mid-20s, maybe even to my late 20s, to be honest. Because I just felt like that was not something I was comfortable talking to them about, honestly. But, time heals all, and, we're in a good place. We are in a great place, and that is a blessing. And I think we all want the approval of our parents, right? Like, we all want them to be happy for us, and I think they genuinely want me to be happy. And yeah, it's tricky because yeah, I'll just say it was difficult growing up, but at the same time, once I started to be comfortable in my skin, I feel like that's when more doors started to open for me in life. And yeah, I mean, they're always, I can say, because I know there are other families that have gone through way worse, that my parents have always told me that they have loved me and love me and support me, no matter what. I could do the most horrible thing. They still going, what's up? What we got to do? You know, like they don't play about me. So
Yeah, I mean that's beautiful, man. Because everybody,
especially in the Black community, which is so tied to church, and sometimes I feel like that doesn't give the space for someone to, you know, figure out who they are, you know, because we're just being dumped on with stuff, you know. But yeah.
I asked because I know for me, like when I wrote, you know, my book, and I knew there was going to be things in there, but I mean, my mom didn't learn a lot of stuff, you know, until 4 years ago.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I just always wonder how that is for everybody, no matter what your journey is. But to be able to have that type of transparency with people that you love, let alone people that raised you, and to feel comfortable or be confident in going to them. You know what I mean? And to be able to have those hard, deep conversations that you need to have. And then I don't think everything is about support, right? But to an extent, because again, depending on your principles, morals, and values, but to know that there's love there and that you can still be able to come to them in a time of need. Like the fact that you can go to your dad, I'm not afforded that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's dope that you're able to have that. You know what I'm saying? I got that with my mom, and I love my dad. I ain't got no like issues with him, but we just don't have that
relationship.
That type of relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I just, you know, I hear you talk about your upbringing. I hear you talk about, you know, you're just like a preacher's kid, and I was just like, I know a few, but I'm in a different place now. I don't have some of those relationships now.
Yeah.
But just always wondering because they never get that voice, I don't think, because they're always under this microscope of what it's supposed to look like and how you're supposed to behave and all of these things. You know, that's another conversation for itself, but still, you know, for you to be able to express what that looks like. But, you know, I
mean, it's a
you.
blessing. I'm super grateful to God that I have two amazing parents that raised me. And whenever someone gives me compliments about, you know, my personality or just, you know, all the good traits, the characteristics, I'm like, I get it from them. They taught me, you know?
That's good, man. We're going to be back. Relationships matter.
Relationships matter.
What's going on, beautiful people? And we are back. Relationships matter. So I had a quick thought because I know you are in this seasoned age of self-awareness, love, and all of that. But I want to ask, going into the future a little bit, what does your ideal partner look like? And do you think about having a family of your own?
Yes, I would love to have a family. I would love to. You know what's funny? I was so like pro marriage because of what my upbringing is, and I still want to get married. I do, but I don't know. The older I get, the more I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to get married, to be honest, because I'm like, is that because of heteronormities? Is that because that's what I grew up? You know, a lot of times maybe it doesn't work out. You know, they can be messy and you know, in the world and stuff with divorce but I don't know. Right at this point, I definitely know I want a partner that I can grow old with, whether that's married or not. I would like to have a couple kids, maybe a boy and a girl, maybe a couple dogs. My ideal partner, well, he has to be spiritual. Someone that, I think we talked about this off camera, like just someone who's like loyal and good at communication, respectful, family oriented, someone who, they don't have to be in the industry. You know, I get all the time, like, would you date another actor? Do you have a preference? And I'm like, I'm 50-50 because on one hand, it would be cool to date someone who's also in the industry, even if they're like maybe a writer or director, or producer or something, because then you understand the world that I'm in. However, on the flip side, that can come to like egos and it can be, you know, a little difficult, you know, if this person wants to always be in the spotlight and you want to be in the spotlight. So dating someone that's not in the industry, I actually might prefer that more because then it's like I can learn about your world. You know, you can learn about my world, and it's not about, you don't care about the celebrity or the fame or all that. You are just a normal person who, you know, is just doing their thing. I just need someone who's driven, someone who's passionate, someone who's going to challenge me, make me my best self, someone that's I'm going to think about all the time and not feel like I'm a burden or a bother. Great sex.
It's a must.
Because that's important, okay? Like, looks matter. They do. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're trying to ask all the physicals, but you know, I mean,
I'm just asking
we'll leave it at that.
what goes into that, because on the flip side too, right? Another thing that came up, because I had a couple other questions, but the person that you want partnership with and thinking about family, would they be marriage material? It's a trick question. The reason why I'm asking is because a lot of people are willing to bring children into the world, but not willing to make a lifelong commitment. There's a fear on marriage, but not a fear on having a child with the wrong person.
Well,
that's why I asked.
And that's a good point. I think for me, I want to be a father no matter what.
Gotcha.
So, you know, I once read a book that Ricky Martin had wrote. I think I was in high school at the time, but, you know, with his story, he pretty much was like, I'm going to have my twins. And he did, and he wasn't in a relationship, and now he's with his now partner, and now they have their kids together. And I used to say, I was like, well, if I'm not married by 40, then I'm gonna just go ahead and get a surrogate, have my little kids, and we gonna be good to go. But of course, I don't wanna be a single parent. Of course, I would wanna find someone that I can have that partnership before we have kids and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, I definitely wanna make sure that it's the right person, because I don't wanna get married and then like get divorced. I don't want that either.
How do you feel you'll raise your kids? You know what I mean? Like if you have the son and daughter the way that you just mentioned, like what goes into that? Have you thought about that part or piece of it?
I mean, I think I would try to do what my parents did, just show them unconditional love. I think I would let them figure out what it is that they want to do and hone in on that. You know, if they want to play sports, if they want to be in acting, although I don't know if I want my kids to be in actors. I don't know.
Why do you say that? What are the downsides?
Just because I know how hard it's been for me. So when I hear other actors say that, now that I'm in it, I get it.
You get it.
Because I'm sure it was scary for my parents to let me leave Maryland after college and just, I mean, I wanted to leave at 17 in high school. My mama was like, no, you going to college. But even at 24, when I moved, halfway across the country it's scary. And so, and I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna be a fun dad, but at the same time, I'm gonna be so protective that I'm like, if anybody F's with my kids, it's a wrap. Like,
what are some of your fears? Do you have any fears? Like, what are some of your fears in regards to that?
Just like the industry and how cutthroat it can be and how people are just a lot of shady people. You know, I wouldn't want my kids to be hurt.
Yeah.
I would hope that I would teach them all the things that they would need, which I feel like my parents did a really good job of that. You know, getting that tough skin, showing the love so they're not searching for it from X, Y, and Z. But I would just be supportive and you know, I might be a little bit of a disciplinarian, maybe a little bit, just because I feel like I want to establish it early on. You know, you train the child in the way they should go, you know, so that I want to have, I mean, I'm not trying to say like an easy time parenting, because I know parenting is going to be difficult no matter what, but I would hope that I have a good son or a good daughter that's just, that's respectable.
I have a question, just thinking about what we're talking about in terms of the industry and then how you grew up and your parents. Like, how does that translate to how you move in the industry? Here lately, we hear all these different stories about what's going on in the industry with the Christian keys and that type of thing and just trying to get a role. How has your experience been in that vein?
I've heard about that, and Christian Keys is actually on my show as well. Shout outs to him.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I feel like I've always tried to make sure that my integrity is so important to me. Like, I don't want to sleep my way to the top. I'm not trying to do that. I want to be known for my talent, not for my ethnicity, not for my sexuality. I just want people to know me for me and want to work with me for me. And so I try to always lead with, just being kind to everyone, being someone that people want to work with. And, it's, the industry is the industry. There's the dark side of the industry and, it's easy to slip into that and to fall into that and get off the path.
Yeah.
And I've gotten off the path sometimes, in Hollywood, but I always
Bring it back.
because then there's a voice in the back of my head that's like, boy. Now I just try to navigate by just my intuition. If I feel like it's off or it's wrong, 9 times out of 10 it is. And I feel like I'm a very deep and intuitive person. I read people very well.
Yeah.
So I just know that if it ain't right, then I gotta separate myself from that.
That's got to be hard, right? I've played pro for 20 years and I've seen a lot, and I got a lot of partners in Hollywood or artists or whatever. And to stand on business, and especially in Hollywood, the type of individual that you got to be, because I know that a lot of people struggle with like that success and you want it. And there's been a lot of people, unfortunately, that have gone through certain extents to reach that mountaintop. But the fact that you've been doing your craft successfully for 5-6 years, right? 5-6 years.
Well, now that I've been on the show, but it's been a longer journey.
But it's been longer. But I'm saying, like, you've been able to see the fruits of that. Do you think at the beginning when it was rockier because you were bumping your head that it might have been that way, or do you think that like being able to walk a different path has helped you reach that level that you've been looking for and the longevity of it too?
Yeah. It was challenging sometimes, because sometimes you feel like, well, sex sells, maybe I do got to do this on social media, or maybe I do got to have an OnlyFans or whatever, at a point where I remember 5-6 years ago when you would go on auditions and they would ask you, well, how many followers do you have and all this type of stuff. And it's like, why does that matter? Like, my talent should matter. It shouldn't be, social media and all that type of stuff.
Right.
So trying to stay true to me can be difficult sometimes, but I feel like it has helped me. I think it's served me. I feel like I definitely have a covering of protection over me. And maybe that's my grandmother's in heaven. I don't know. God always protected me, my parents. I think that's what's kept me, honestly. And I just try to, I try to do the right thing.
What's difficult about, I know you said it's difficult to be you. What would you say would be the difficulty in that?
Just not doing what everybody else is doing, like the norm.
Yeah.
I still want to, I don't know, I came up of an age growing up watching, Denzel Washington and Will Smith and those people, and I'm like, I want to reach that level of success. And so, would they be doing X, Y, and Z? You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like I want to always be true to me. I don't want to, do what everybody else is doing. I can't compare my journey to no one else's journey. And I think that the more that, tying that back into relationships, just making sure that I am the person that I would want to be with, you know? And so you have to look inward sometimes and be like, okay, well, maybe I need to cut this out, or maybe I need to cut this person off, or maybe I need to do this differently so that I can, you know, be happy first and foremost, but also attract what I want to attract.
So is this something a little different, right? I remember at the beginning of the conversation, you talked about like how you were as a kid and stuff like that. Now, you know, with you being 33, 34, take a second to talk to yourself back when you were 8, 9. What would you say to you, knowing what you know now and what you've gone through? How would you prepare that 8, 9-year-old?
Little Arrington, I would just tell him that, you know, this passion that you have, this drive that you have to, you know, be something, you know, maybe you feel like you're different, you know, just accept that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to go after your dreams full force. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of rejection, a lot of no's. You're gonna feel like maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I can't do this. But I would say that there's gonna come a time where things are gonna start to make sense, and it does get better. It will get better. You know, you don't have to lock the door and cry at night, or, you know, you don't have to feel like, is there something wrong with me? Like, you are made in God's image. You are fine. You are amazing. You are talented, and you're gonna be worldwide known one day. You're gonna be talked about. You are gonna make a difference. You're gonna inspire people. So keep your head up, keep God first, and stay patient. You're impatient, and you will gain patience the older you get. But just trust His timing, because everything always works out in the end.
Do you think He appreciates that?
I think so.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up. I definitely want to give you your flowers, you know what I mean? Because you talked about your childhood. You talked about, you know, a lot of things that, you know, you were faced with. Not just with going into your career path, but, you know, coming up in that type of environment. You know, it's not easy for a lot of young men or young women. And then being able to overcome a lot of other things along the journey, you know what I mean, to get to where you're at now. You still are pushing, and I know there's probably other things that you want to accomplish, whether that's from a personal standpoint or from a business standpoint, but you here. You know, you've been able to go all over this country, and you've made your way to the A, and you're doing the things that you're doing. So I definitely want to give you your flowers, King, and just salute you.
I appreciate
that. You know
that.
what I'm saying? And just continue to shed light, you know, continue to grow, continue to be on your journey. And, you know, I pray that, you know, you find what you're looking for, whether it's personally or from a business standpoint, and that you continue to, you know, inspire others. You know what I'm saying? To follow their dreams as you just did, and talk to that young 8-year-old you. But not only following your dreams, but integrity, doing it in a way, you know, where you could be proud. You know what I'm saying? Because I heard a sense of pride, like when you talked about, like, yeah, I bumped my head, but I've also reminded myself, like, that ain't it. And this is how I want that to look. And I think a lot of people, man, when it comes to success, when it comes to money or anything in that category, they will sell themselves. And they sell themselves short, man. So truly appreciate you, man. It was a great conversation. Thank you for coming on and being a part of RM. You're a part of the RM family. Hashtag Purpose Partners, because that's the new vibe, the new wave we on.
Yes.
So, but thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank y'all for having
me. And hopefully we created a space for you to be you. You
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying? And for you to express and communicate what you felt was important, man. So we appreciate you. Sending you love and light, my brother.
Thank you.
Till next time, man, relationships matter. I'll holler at y'all.
relationships matter.